I'm going to do everything within my power, without cutting corners, to get this Samurai driving. I want to see it work. I want to, there's going to be things that are going to leak. There's going to be problems along the way, and we can only start to solve those problems with a build this fresh if we can get it running and driving. And with any luck, I really hope that we can take it to King of the Hammers. I had to import the top for this Samurai from a place in France. It's bizarre. I kept finding pictures online of a top that went like a couple inches past the targa, and I couldn't find any in the United States. But I found a place in France that carried them. They looked like they were high quality, and so I imported them over here. And I'm glad I did, because this lays over the roll cage perfectly. Matt installed a top while I've been editing. Check this out. This makes the interior look so much more complete to have a top. Look at that. I mean, how exciting is that? Just a few months ago, we were all in this together looking at a bare unpainted frame, and now we have a top, we have functional doors. Matt is working on some rock lights right now, which we're gonna be testing later today. But this top is French, believe it or not. I wanted a top. I did so much research. It is so hard to find a top that goes behind this targa, I guess you would call it. And I wanted something to go a little bit farther back, because the seats, because of the way we're gonna be sitting in them, is gonna be just like right there. It would be nice if we had like 2 more inches of material, but honestly, the way it lays over our cage is pretty clean. So I'm gonna live with that. We're at this point, beggars can't be choosers. I want to get this thing on the trail, and I'm gonna be happy with my weird little French top. They say the devil's in the details, and this video is full of little devilly details. So the devil we're working on right now is this heater. This is a universal heater I got off of eBay, and they're super inexpensive, and it's compact, and it's everything we need in a tight package. I'm going to retrofit this into the Samurai. I know that a lot of people don't, I shouldn't say a lot. It's not uncommon to see buggies with no heaters in them. But because of the fact that like snow wheeling culture is so important to us, and it's so moist and damp where I live, defrost is something that's very important to me, and so is the ability to heat the cab in case of an emergency, or just for comfort. I've got heated seats, but to be able to take the edge off for my passengers and for myself, whenever we're climbing up on top of a mountain with big old snow tires and there's a blizzard happening, I think that having that extra comfort is going to be very welcome in those moments. I have some odds and ends, some little problems that need to get solved outside of our electrical work. This is electrical adjacent though. So this is a temperature probe that's going to tell the electric fans to turn on and off. So once the temperature in the radiator gets above a certain temperature, this is going to buzz a little electrical signal to a relay, which is then going to turn on our fans to cool it down. And then once it gets below a temperature, a certain threshold, this will then turn off. And this is what's going to be controlling automatically the temperature of our engine and radiator. The problem is, this is the universal size. This isn't made to like go into a Volkswagen engine or into a Jeep Cherokee radiator. But the Jeep Cherokee radiator comes with this little plug, and what I'm hoping we can do this weekend, I've got a few different things we can play around with on this lathe. What I'd like to do is try to center punch this and turn this plug on the radiator into an adapter for this temp switch. I've used a few different style temp probes, and my favorite is this style. If something gets submerged in coolant, is typically going to get a faster response. If your engine gets really hot, like if you're doing something really demanding right now and you need to cool that engine off, I find that something that's immersed in coolant is going to react quicker. And all this does is it interrupts the signal, not the signal, it interrupts the ground to the relay. So this is just a grounding switch, essentially. Once the temperature goes above a certain threshold, I would be willing to bet this one's either 200 or 210. I can't remember which one I bought. Once it goes over that, it then grounds, and then the relay has ground, which energizes the relay, which energizes the cooling fans, and then once the temperature goes below a certain threshold, which is usually like 10 degrees or 15 degrees less, it will then unground, and it'll turn off the system. Super simple. Since I've got the lathe out, I'm moving on to the catch can. This is a very important part of a TDI, as I learned the hard way. It's got a really good crankcase ventilation system, but it allows a lot of oil vapor to escape and then accumulate in your charge pipes and intercooler and whatnot. So I'm modifying a really inexpensive eBay catch can, and the reason I chose this one is because of its size and because it has baffles. But in hindsight, I had to modify this so much, I probably should have just built my own from scratch. Turn off the radiator for my TIG torch so that we can talk. Take a look at this. This for me is noteworthy. That's a big gap to fill. So this is a catch can. This is baffled, meaning that so the inlet's over here. There's a series of baffles that will help separate the oil vapor from whatever gas, we'll just call it air, to come back out and then go into our intake. And I got an eBay one to save time, and now I'm realizing I'm not actually saving that much time. I would love to build another one of these, but the lathe broke again, so we're going to have to work on that and fix it. And now I'm stuck with trying to fill that humongous gap with a TIG torch. I am not an expert TIG welder, but we're going to give this a shot. I used to work with a guy who used to say, I'd rather be lucky than good, and I don't know which one I am here, but I'm just happy to finish this project and to move on to the next thing. Because this next task is a weird one, and it's a whole different type of welding in and of itself. We have a problem. This hits the hood. I need to make a solution, and unfortunately, you know, we put all this based on what the height of our pedal assembly was going to be. And right now the pedal assembly is in a really comfortable position, and that established the height for this, and that makes it to where the weak link, the one thing that we're gonna have to modify in order to make all this work together, is gonna be our reservoir. I'm gonna try plasti welding it, but if that doesn't work, we're gonna have to put some time into this and make some sort of an aluminum jammy. If it looks like I'm just shooting from the hip to solve this problem, that's exactly what's going on. I don't know what to do here. So what I'm thinking is, if I cut this, I wet the plastic, which basically means that I would just kind of melt the edges of the plastic, get it to stick together and cool, then use my plasti welding gun to try to just marry both parent materials together without any welding rod. Let that cool. Then cover that with the plastic welding rod, let it cool, and then use that plastic welding gun again to marry all three materials, I guess. So the parent material of the top piece, the bottom piece, and then the welding rod. I'm hoping that between those four passes, essentially, we're going to get something that's going to hold fluid, because I do not want to take this thing back apart. I don't want it to just be dripping brake fluid everywhere as I'm wheeling for that first trip. So we'll see how this turns out. Again, I do have a plan B. We could make one out of aluminum, but I would prefer to just use plastic if I can make it work. Does this intimidate and offend some of you? You get online and you look at like TDI swaps. There's like one camp that is all about electrical. Keep all the electrical. I'm in that camp. And then there's the other camp, like, get rid of all that, go full mechanical. I see the value in going full mechanical. But a lot of those folks, like when you really push them, and like they don't like this. And I don't blame them. I understand why this would be intimidating, but let me show you how simple this is. We have 3 engine harnesses for this BRM TDI. One is hacked apart, which is this one. I cut this out of a 2006 Jetta like 6 years ago when I did my first TDI swap in the TDI TJ. I then bought a fully built aftermarket harness for it with all brand new plugs and everything. I used it in there, but I kept all of this original wiring in case I would need to de-pin anything and solve some problems in the future. Future Nate is very thankful that I did that, because The harness that came with the Samurai, that's made for a BRM TDI, does not have any accommodations for a mass airflow sensor. And if I don't modify this, if I just leave it the way it is, I could sell it and make some money, which would be sweet. And I have a perfectly good used harness. It's only, you know, that engine only had 10 or 12,000 miles in the TDI TJ. But the problem is, it does not have this, which is very important. I want to use the factory Volkswagen Jetta alternator. And the company that made that swap harness didn't put this in there because they designed their kit around the idea that I would use an alternator that has an external regulator. So this is what's going to regulate the alternator, and it's all done through the ECU. I am going to pin this into a plug that looks like this. And I know that sounds complicated, but I promise you it's actually not that bad. Speaking like I have any idea. I've depinned lots of different plugs, usually smaller stuff. I just went through and I looked through this and I counted where the pins are, and this, I say it's not that bad, meaning that I can very easily locate where I need to depin the alternator regulator wire, but I haven't depinned a harness like this yet. I have a master depinning terminal release set. Hopefully one of those fits in here, but I'm gonna play with that. The way this works is you look at your schematics, and this breaks it down super easy. The first page has 1 through 61, and it shows where each one of these wires goes. And you can count 1 through 61 on here. And in fact, in the corners, I see a number 7. So it would be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Actually, yeah, that's it. And then it goes down to the next row. So the corners have it listed. So all you need to do is you look through your schematic. I can go to charging circuit. I can see what wire, what color wire actually goes into this plug, which is blue with a white stripe. I've already verified. And that is in pin 64, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so this next page shows the rest of the pins on the ECU. And we've got pin 62, 63, 64, all the way to pin 92. And when I look at pin 64, blue with a right stripe, and that goes to starting charging circuit. So, in theory, if I depin this, I want to pull that OEM wire out. We should be able to pin this into the harness that Matt is pulling out of the TJ right now, and we should be able to add an alternating charging circuit so we can have our cake and eat it too. I depinned that one wire out of the old harness, pinned it in the new one, and then we scabbed together as much of the electrical as we could as fast as we could, because I'm like a day away from being able to take this to the King of the Hammers, but we have to get it to start first.
Remember, don't press the brake pedal.
Yeah, definitely don't press the brake pedal.
I'm not going to stand in front of it either.
It's a good call. You have good instincts. Oh, you know what? I don't have the relays turned on. That should be glow plug and ECU. Neither one popped.
What? That's good fun.
Neutral. Trying to turn the wheel. That's interesting. Let's kill it.
Turned over, so that's good.
Yeah, it is turning over. It sounds slow.
Yeah.
It's in neutral though, so it's not slow from that. There's quite a few things that could keep a swapped vehicle from starting, but I had a feeling that it was either low battery or we didn't have enough ground. So what we did is we threw a charger on the battery. We added one more chassis ground, because if the ECU doesn't see a certain voltage while it's cranking, like if when you're cranking the voltage drops too low, it won't start. So let's at least rule that out, and then we'll give this another shot.
Oh yeah, I like that. That's pretty good.
Believe it or not, I am over the moon excited that it's running, but I know better than to get your hopes up. I've been a part of this process with friends, so is Matt, where sometimes it'll run, but then you discover something terrible and you got to pull the motor again. So like, it's just not over yet. Until this thing like warms up, we can shut it off and start it again and then drive it. It's not really time for a celebration. The anxiety is high, and we just need to test for leaks and see if there's anything to fix.
When that plug's covered in oil.
Okay.
That'd be really cool if it was just that back cover.
Oh, the back cover of the tandem pump? I haven't seen that leak before.
Because, like, the plug's got a bunch of oil on it.
Yeah, totally. We had a little bit of an oil leak. We pulled this little cover that we made. Thank goodness we made that. And determined that it was just the valve cover. So I changed, it was like an O-ring style seal for the valve cover. It had just folded over whenever we bolted it down. So we put it back to where it needs to go. Tried it again. Well, we start with please start and then please shift. So it starts right up.
Yeah.
Okay. Still has a hard time going into gear. That's pushed all the way to the floor. Oh, there we go. Oh, shit.
Probably in low range.
Dude, it drives. No way. Oh, it sounds really good. It needs more weight or less spring. But it needs to break in.
Yeah.
That turbo sounds really good. We got some rumblings and some grumblings.
Just a little bit.
Turbo sounds good though.
Turbo sounds really good. Seems to be spooling well.
She's stiff. I'd be curious to see your opinion on the steering feel as well.
Yeah.
We have a lot left that needs to be done, but I said if it drives, it's going to Hammers. And I don't want to be a liar, but I'm hearing some weird noises. I think there's just some clearance stuff we need to figure out somewhere. That sounds good.
That sounds really good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, baby. That sounds so good. It does not feel good, but it sounds good. This is riding pretty stiff, but with all these brand new joints and with such a light body, I need to give it some time to break in. But speaking of break in, I think that we've gotten it warm enough that I can goose it down the street and see how it performs with this new turbo. Start goosing it, and like once you get out of like second gear, it starts to sound amazing, and then all the vibrations start going nuts. I need to shave. Well, it's D-Day. It's time to, or I don't know, K-Day, King of the Hammers Day, KOH Day. Matt is working on a crane for the Kodiak. This before Matt leaves today. He came in on a Saturday to help me. We've got to get a whole bunch of stuff done, and this has to be loaded. So it's the end of the video. I would love to go over more details on what we did here. As you can see, even my wife's pitching in. She's putting the Dirt Lifestyle banner on up there. We're doing a crane so that we can pick up 2 more Unimog axles. Both are steer axles. One actually already has like a hydro assist setup on it so that we can do rear steer here. But I found a great deal on a set in Arizona. My buddy Bobby is bringing those to King of the Hammers. We will then be putting them in the bed of the Kodiak, but Unimog axles are so heavy that we need a crane in order to do that. So as you can see, I've added a whole bunch more work for myself, but I think the long term, it's going to be worth it because this thing it's already feels so capable, but with rear steer, it's going to be nasty. So I'm thinking in the next video is going to be at King of the Hammers. We're going to be wheeling. And I will go through the different systems and why I chose to do different things. I've seen lots and lots of questions about like, am I gonna lower it? And like all kinds of stuff. And I didn't really get to show you my electrical at all. We just had to get work done. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it builds a little anticipation for the next one. This next one is gonna be good. We're gonna go have fun as long as my, my old Kodiak here can haul the Samurai and my Tacoma without breaking down. See you on the next one.